don't think I've ever read to you on the vlog before. This is a letter we've received today. We're going to name them. This is a letter I've received today from the Willoughby School in Bourne in Lincolnshire. The subject of which is irregular attendance at school, bold underlined, formal warning. Just going to cover up his date of birth. Formal warning. Dear Miss Cornwall and Mr. Chapman, I need to draw your attention to the fact that parents have a duty in law to ensure their child attends school regularly unless they are unable to do so by reason of ill health or other legally acceptable reason. During the period 17th May 2017 to 27th June 2017, Andrew was absent from school on 50 out of a possible 50 half-day sessions, and no valid reasons have been provided. This is an unacceptable rate of attendance, and I attach, for your information, a copy of the pupil absence record sheet. Previously, Andrew had been deemed too unwell to attend school with a medical letter stating this. This is no longer the case. And then this next bit's all in bold. Section 7 of the Education Act 1996 places upon parents a duty to ensure their child receives suitable, efficient, full-time education, either by regular attendance at school or education otherwise. Section 4441A of the same Act states that where a parent of a child who knowingly and without reasonable justification fails to ensure regular attendance of a registered pupil at that school, the parent of the child shall be guilty of an offence against that section. The local education authority may, where necessary, institute legal proceedings in the Magistrates' Court under this section of the Education Act 1996 against those parents concerned. Alternatively, Section 444B of the same Act empowers the local education authority to issue a fixed penalty of either £50 or £100. Yours sincerely, James Husbands, Head Teacher. I'll give you his email address in a moment. And then we have this letter. Now, before we go through this letter line by line and point out what absolute poppycock it is, I just want to show you a video that Anna recorded on her phone from November last year. We have lots of these videos that we just filmed at the time to try and show everyone involved in the process exactly what the situation was when we tried to get Andy to go to school in the mornings. In most of them, he's naked, because one of the first things he does is runs upstairs, rips off his clothes, and then starts screaming and punching and kicking and biting. It's quite hard to find him where he's not naked. This one, he's not naked. It's not anywhere near as bad as it can get because he's not even reached the naked stage yet, but it gives you a little bit of an insight into what happens at just the suggestion of going to school.
Come on, it's time to get dressed and get ready. We're going to see Katie and your friends in the red class. Yeah. Come on. What are you doing? Come on, it's time to get ready.
No, I'm crying.
You're not crying.
I'm crying.
No, you're not.
Oh yeah.
No, you're not. You're not.
Yeah.
You are not crying.
I'm crying.
No, you're not.
I'm crying.
You're not crying.
I'm crying.
You're not crying.
I'm crying.
You're being silly.
I'm crying.
You're not crying.
I'm crying.
No, it's time for school.
No.
Yes.
No.
It is time to go to school.
No. No.
Come on.
No.
It is time to go
Right.
to school.
No.
Yes.
No. No.
It is time for school.
No. No. I'm gonna sleep. No.
But you're not tired.
So, let's have a look at this letter then, line by line. I need to draw your attention to the fact that parents, I'm not his parent. Why am I on this letter? Not his parent. Get your facts straight, you moron. Have a duty in law to ensure their child attends school regularly unless they're unable to do so by reason of ill health. He's autistic, he has anxiety, both diagnosed medical conditions, plus he's dangerously underweight, under care of a nutritionist or dietitian, I forget what they're officially called. There's plenty of medical reasons, or other legally acceptable reason. Well, he refuses. That's quite, I'm pretty sure that's an acceptable reason too. During the period of 17th of May, blah, 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 he was absent on 50 days out of 50 with no valid reasons have been provided. Well, you have had valid reasons. Valid reason number 1, if we want to get really picky about this and start throwing blame around, you, Willoughby School, cancelled his taxi. So even if we wanted to get him there, we don't have a way to get him there. We have one car, one driver in the family. That one car belongs to me. That one driver is me. I'm at work, 20 miles away from his school. The education authority, the whole reason they won't move him to a more appropriate school is because it's 3 miles further away than this one, and they can't afford to drive him to it as part of the transport arrangements he's entitled to in order to get him to school, because he can't get there any other way. You stopped the taxi because he wasn't using it, so during those dates he could not attend because he didn't have a way of getting there. So there's your valid reason. Addition to that, we've got the fact that he's medically not able to go. He gets physically violent if we push him too far with it, and we're not going to knock him over the head and bundle him into the back of a car. That's a ridiculous suggestion, luckily one that you haven't made yet, but you have implied that we should be forcing him to attend. And I'd really appreciate some suggestions for how it might be possible to do that without endangering his or our safety. This is an unacceptable rate of attendance. You're telling us we'd very much like him to attend a little bit more often. It'd be nice if you helped us out. Or if you don't want to help us out, you know that educational health care plan that we've got? The one that for the last 18 months says you should have been sending work home for him to do at home? Yeah, you've never sent him any work at all. So that would have been a nice middle ground while we're waiting to get him back. If you'd just sent him some work to do, we could have done it with him at home. Don't know if you remember or not. I'm a teacher. I could have done that with him. Previously, Andrew had been deemed too unwell to attend a school with a medical letter stating this. There has never been a medical letter stating this. It has always been on our word and the word of the social worker and the words of the specialist nurse. There has never been a letter. The only letter there's ever been is the one, coincidentally, dated the 17th of May, which says he has anxiety, he has autism, he has this, that and the other, but there is no reason why he shouldn't attend school. It doesn't say he should be forced to attend school. It says there's no medical reason why he couldn't attend school, which is frustrating, and we're trying to get that letter overturned. But at the same time, it doesn't change the fact that because of the medical reasons, we can't force him to get to school. And the letter is just a lie. There has never been a letter. So saying that that's no longer the case is lies and nonsense. Then we get into the bold bit about the actual specific acts, talking about reasonable justification. You've just seen that video from 6 months ago. I think that's reasonable justification. You've been watching the vlog for 6 months. I'm talking to you guys now, not the school. But if they really want to find out, watch some previous videos on the vlog. I think we have reasonable justification for him not attending. And as a side note, talking to you again now, school, you know that I've given up my career to try and get him back to school, and you've sent us this letter 3 weeks before that goes through. You're threatening with us with a fine, with legal action, 3 weeks, while I'm serving out my notice period to finish my teaching career so that I can attempt to drive him into school from September. You've decided now, after 18 months, is the right time to do this. It beggars belief, it really does. And then we get into the part about magistrates' courts and fixed penalty fines. A fixed penalty fine is a thing that really concerns us. If you want to take us to court, bring it on. If you're going to give us a fixed penalty notice, we're not going to pay it. We've done nothing wrong. We're doing everything in our power to get this boy to school. You, the school, are doing nothing to try and get him there other than be an obstacle in our way. So I'm inviting our audience, and this is step one of starting to engage the wider media. I'm not contacting local or national media yet, but believe me, the next step is going to be. I've replied to this letter today to the school, given them 2 weeks, so until the date of our next Child in Need meeting, to formally retract this formal warning. It's not going to be enough for them to phone me up and say, don't worry about it. I want a letter in writing that says formal retraction of warning as the subject, and takes it all back and apologises to Anna because she's been in tears about this, and that is not okay. But in the meantime, I'm inviting you lot, the vlog subscribers, the community that we've built here, to start to mobilise. I don't know how many of you are as passionate about this as I am. Obviously no one's going to be quite as passionate as I am because you're not living it, you're just watching us live it. But I know when we put the videos about this on before, so many of you have leapt in and said, I've shared this to so and so who might be able to help, or when the time comes, Kev, we'll be right there beside you. And I know I don't want to have to do this, but I'm calling all that in at this point. If you could spare 5 minutes to write a letter to the Willoughby School or Lincolnshire Education Authority, I'll put all the address details down in the description to this video, expressing your views on this letter and the case as a whole based on what you know, that would be massively appreciated. If you'd rather send an email, then feel free to use the email address that I'm going to put down in the description for the headmaster of the school, and you can email him directly, or you can send a letter through the post to the address that I'm going to put in the description. I think we need to start putting some pressure on. They need to be aware that it's not just us against them, it's us against them. There's more of us and we will win. Couple of provisos, please. I don't want any threats, I don't want any suggestions of violence, I don't want anyone to turn up at the school. We want to do this properly and sensibly. We're just going to put a little bit of pressure on through letters and emails at the moment. If we get to the point where we need a petition and stuff like that, we'll go down that route. But I'm going to be taking legal advice before we move any further with it. But for now, I think it's completely reasonable to provide you with some publicly available information about the school our son attends and where that school is geographically located. And if you choose to send a letter to the guy whose name is on the website as their headmaster, and his email address is on there too, it's all publicly available information. If you decide to use that to fight our corner in a polite and respectful way that doesn't involve threats of violence or anything, go for it. I'm serious, that wasn't code. Please, we don't want any threats, we don't want any silliness. We want to have the moral high ground throughout this whole process. If we start getting silly, we lose that, and then we lose the whole thing. So we need to be, I'm taking a big risk by doing this video, and even as I'm talking about it, I'm wondering if it's a good idea. It probably isn't. Loads of you will tell me it isn't, but I feel like we've got to do something. It's not okay for them to bully us, to threaten us, and to not do anything to help us out. It's not okay. The goal we're looking for now, we just want them to put in writing that our school can't meet Andy's needs, because as soon as they've done that, we can take him out of that school and take him to the one that's 3 miles further away, which is suitable for his needs, and get the transport to get him there. And that's all we need, that's all we want. And he doesn't want to do it because he'll then lose the funding for Andy. And at the moment, he's getting funding for a disabled child, which is decent funding. It's not loads of money, but it's it'll pay a significant chunk of a teaching assistant salary, for example. They've been getting that money for 1.5 years and he's not been attending. They don't want to lose that money, which is why they won't put in writing that he can't attend. Education is broken, that's just one example of it. But I need your help. I need you to help me apply a little bit of pressure. I'm going to send this video onto the school so they can see exactly what I'm asking you lot to do. If you don't feel comfortable writing a letter, or you don't feel comfortable sending an email, I'll also ask, don't phone them, because I don't want to distract them from doing their job. I want it to be something he can read through in the evening or before his day starts. I don't want you clogging up his school day with phone calls. But if you don't feel comfortable actually making direct contact, another awesome thing you can do to help us out is just to share this with anyone and everyone. Post it onto your social media, email it to someone who you think it might be relevant to. Show someone it on your phone. If there's someone who you think might care, just show them the video on your phone and ask them for their response, or show them where they can find out more, show them how they can get in touch with us, or just send Anna a message, tweet her at Mr. Lujo. Just send her a message telling her she's doing a good job, because she tries so hard. She works harder than any mum in the history of the world has ever worked, and to get a letter like this telling her that legally she's not doing a good job as a mum, to the point where she could get a fine or be taken to court over how she's performing as a mum, it really hits her really hard. And if you do nothing else, I'd really appreciate you just telling her that she's doing a fantastic job, because stuff like this, in the situation we're in, it's just so unhelpful. I don't know what they're trying to achieve with this. It even says in the letter, when we're talking about the legislation, the Education Authority, where's the specific wording? The Education Authority may, where necessary, institute legal proceedings, or may do a fixed penalty notice. This is all optional. I don't want them to be able to hide behind the fact, oh, this is policy, this is procedure. Sending this letter was a decision that somebody made. It was optional. You didn't have to send this. You could have actually used a little bit of common sense, realised that it isn't appropriate in this situation. We're doing everything we can. Just don't send the letter. You don't need to send the letter. I have been working on the basis for 1.5 years that we're working together as a team to try and get him back to school. And today, and I said this in the email I sent to them in my response to this letter, it felt like for the first time we were starting to apportion blame. And if we're starting to apportion blame, then they need to look a lot closer to home than Anna, because from our point of view, the reason he's not attending is because he was attacked by another student in the school. It wasn't dealt with properly. He's afraid to go. He's autistic. He doesn't understand why he was attacked. He doesn't understand that the school will try not for it to happen again. He had bite marks on his arm for like 4 months after this happened. He had scratch marks on his back. He had bruises. He was attacked. It wasn't just a little scrap. He was minding his own business and this other kid came up behind him, clawed his back and bit his arm. For no reason. And so he's afraid to go. He developed anxiety. He doesn't want to be apart from his mum, ever. If she goes up and has a shower, you can see that he's panicking until she's back. The school know all this. And they don't care. It's a child mental health issue. It's a perfect example of stuff that is in the media a lot at the moment. Child mental health isn't taken seriously. Like they said, he doesn't have a medical reason to not attend. Well, if he had cancer, is that a medical reason not to attend? Just because you can't see his illness doesn't mean it's not there. It's anxiety, it's diagnosed, he's on medication for it. That's medical. That's just irresponsible, and something needs to, stuff like this shouldn't happen. Something needs to be done about it. Save these for the people who can't be bothered to send their kids in. But this is a situation where we just can't get him there. And believe me, if we could, we would. So any support you can give would be massively appreciated. I appreciate the fact that you made it to this far into the video, to be honest. I know these aren't the most happy, fun vlogs that we ever do, but this is a reality of our life. We have days like this. Through no fault of our own, an outside influence comes in and leaves me having to take a tearful phone call from Anna, her absolutely distraught and scared. And in the meantime, I'm trying to secure our financial future as I'm giving up work, trying to do this exam marking stuff, try and get stuff in place for September. She's trying to apply for student finance, and we've had to put everything on the back burner today and deal with that. So not only are they threatening us and making her feel awful, they're also putting our immediate future at risk as stuff that we should be doing today. We've not been able to do today because we've had to deal with this, and it wasn't necessary. And just thank you for watching.